Hello, welcome to the first episode of the Self-Starters podcast. Today I have a very special guest with me, my good friend Santoni Engelbrecht, best known for her time on Survivor South Africa, where she was a castaway alongside myself. But today that's not the topic of discussion. We're discussing her online business, Kwaito Koeksister, an online fashion store that is doing amazing work across South Africa. So without further ado, let's get into it. The Self-Starters podcast with my good friend Santoni Engelbrecht. Hello, Santoni. How are you, my friend?
Hi, friend. Long time no see.
Yeah, we weren't just chatting for about half an hour in the green room.
You look
Can I just
fabulous,
say-
by the way, with your green shirts.
No, thank you. Do you know, it's because of this podcast. I've decided if I'm going to be a self-starter, I have to be the color of starting and going, which is green.
And also the color of money, technically, like the
Yeah,
US money. Isn't that green?
I won't be complaining. I won't be complaining. Santi, thank you for being my first guest. I mean, you are the definition of a self-starter, and I have no doubt we'll go into great detail about that. But I couldn't imagine anyone better to have as my guinea pig. You're always sharing your ideas with me and all our fellow castaways. Spoilers, if anyone didn't know, we were on Survivor South Africa together.
Oh.
On you know how to take over social media, how to start a business. You always have a plan and you're always doing something. So you are the self-starter. Thank you for being my guinea pig.
Wow, coming from you, Kiran, it's such a massive compliment. I really appreciate it so much. Wow. Now, and I've got big shoes to fill. Or in this podcast,
I have no doubt. I mean, I've seen the range of Crocs that you have on Kwaito Koeksister. You'll definitely be able to fill them. Santi, and let's just jump straight into it. Much like Survivor, let's just get straight into it, and we'll figure it out as we're there.
Yes.
The whole point of this podcast is to give me a chance to speak to people who are excellent at turning ideas into action. So a lot of people know this about me, but I have tons of ideas. I have ideas to revolutionize the world, but I'm useless at starting them. I feel like an imposter. I don't know where to begin. I make excuses. I'm excellent at procrastinating. So I want to speak to people who are the exact opposite. People who can actually take an idea and make something out of it, create something from scratch. And you've done that with your online fashion store, Kwaito Koeksister. And it is excellent. When I look at it, I'm like, this is such a professional outfit. It's something that you could really be proud of. And it's quite daunting actually speaking to you when I'm like, I'm just trying to start a podcast and I don't even know what I'm doing. But for people who don't know your backstory, before you were an online fashionista, you were the creative director at eNCA. And my question to you is quite simple. How the hell does someone go from creative director at eNCA to owning an online fashion store? What's the story behind that?
There's a short answer and there's a long answer. The short answer is get retrenched. But yeah, so the story is actually, I mean, looking back, it's nice to reflect on how it all happened. But in that moment, 3 years later, or in that moment, it was quite hectic. So I started my TV career in Johannesburg at ETV there. I was logistics manager and I moved to Cape Town, production coordinator, and eventually I ended up being creative director of eNCA, like you said. And things it was going well. I mean, I really enjoyed it, worked for fabulous people. It was really amazing. That was before COVID times. And I, for 4 years, I worked from home. Because when news never sleeps, so I had to work like 24/7. And then things changed a bit, and they're like, no, you have to drive the M2 in, whatever, long stories. But yes, eventually it ended up that I was retrenched without severance, by the way. This is a very important part to the story. Yeah, and luckily, a few months before my retrenchment, I went to Thailand with my sister. And I saw these beautiful bags. And I thought, wow, these bags are so beautifully made. And they're so cheap. I really think people will buy them. So I bought a bunch of bags, didn't really know how things worked, walked to the like custom clearing people in Thailand and just like sent the stuff and wished and prayed that it arrived here. And on the side, I started like having a little stall at a market here at Blauklippen while I was still working for ETV, just to see, I mean, these bags, we can sell it, pass it off with extra income. And yeah, then I got retrenched. So there I was thrown in the deep end and I have to now come up with a plan. Yeah, and then I went to Thailand again to go and get some more stock. And this time, obviously, thinking of something that's going to have to like sustain me for probably a while. Yeah, and I brought a few t-shirts and a few other things back, and we went to another festival, and the people just went crazy, not over the bags, but all the other stuff I brought.
Really?
And the rest kind of feels like history.
And that's fascinating. And did you go to Thailand on a reconnaissance mission? So, you and your sister went on holiday, or was it, I'm going to go find the greatest gear out there to bring back home?
No, it was holiday. It was just on a holiday. And I just saw these things. I've always loved fashion because I'm a bit weird and wonderful. I've always been able to spot things that are cool before they actually become cool. So I think that will mean I'm a kind of a trendsetter or something. So yeah, I just saw it there. Am I? So yeah, it wasn't a mission. It just happened by fluke. And then obviously being retrenched forced me into really rethinking this and coming up with a plan that would be able to sustain me. So after I noticed that the t-shirts was doing so well, I in 2 days I built my online shop, and then the online sport just like exploded.
In 2 days, that is wildly impressive. I have we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the online store. Have you always been entrepreneurial? Because if I was walking through Thailand and I saw something that I like, let's just say I saw some really nice shoes, the last thing that would come to my mind is, maybe I should buy some and send them back home, hoping to God that they actually arrive back in South Africa, and see if I could sell them. Is there a streak of being entrepreneurial and trying new things?
Yes, actually, I've been like that for probably. Oh, sorry, there's a dog barking. This is Strand Valley for you. I've been entrepreneurial probably my whole life because we didn't grow up in a very like well-off, wealthy like home. We were fine, middle class or whatever you call it. But since I can remember, I mean, I must think of the first time. But I've been scheming since forever. I used to make tie-dye t-shirts and I used to paint them. Then I would make little wind chimes with like thingies on it and sell them. And I'd make chocolates and sell them at school. At school, I was always on a mission. I don't know how to keep this dog quiet. Is it okay for the
dog bark. Let
the dog bark. I was always missioning like that. And then at varsity, I also needed to make some extra income because you need party money and you need like whatever. So I used to go and buy on my dad's account at the Van Skykes. I don't know who knows Van Skykes. I used to go and buy blank CDs because I was the only one, because I studied graphic design, that had a proper computer with a CD writer in the computer. So I would go and buy blank CDs on my dad's account, and then I would copy CDs for people for like $30, $50 a CD. I started a little tuck shop out of my dormitory room at varsity. Even at ETV, I started a little tuck shop there. So the entrepreneurial side of me is always like constantly going out to make a quick buck. I was even a ticket sculptor at one stage for the Sevens tickets. I made a killing.
Really, eh? It's with COVID coming to an end soon, hopefully. Yes. Ticket sculpting isn't a bad business to go back into. People are going to be rushing to get out as best they can.
No, but I felt so guilty. And the other thing that I also was wrangling with is my dog is a Boston, and I got another one, and I breeded like a batch. I got like $3,000 a dog, so I've kind of had that vibe. Yeah.
Your entire life, and you say it stems from growing up, right? And wanting to make a bit of extra cash.
Yes, I mean, I also waited from the age of 14, before it was, well, 13, before it was even legal. I was waitressing and like always probably wanting to be independent. I think the thing with money is, it's not always about buying things, it's about freedom. Money kind of buys you the freedom. If you're in school or in varsity and you can buy whatever you want and you don't have to ask your parents or anyone, you kind of have freedom. So that's probably the joys of the freedom I got when I tasted money maybe for the first time. I didn't want to stop.
Yeah, no, that is such a great point, right? And it's profound because I find it manifests in very different ways. So what you're saying really resonates with me, and how it worked out for me is I just went deep into my studies in order to attain that freedom, right? And
Yeah.
that's the thing I find is that I almost always go for what I view as financial safety. So, someone else rather employ me, they can worry about keeping the lights on. I'll get my salary, but I'll study hard to get there. Where you've done what I think is a lot more aspirational, and you've said, I'm going to be my own boss, right? And yes, you've gone through a whole journey to get to this point, but you've shown streaks of it your entire life, right? Which I think is amazing.
Yeah, it's fun also. I mean, the possibilities of just doing the thing with, I mean, we'll get to that point probably, but working for a boss and working for yourself, there's a big difference in yeah, but we'll get to that. I'm talking too much as usual.
No, no, you're saying all the right things. You know, my background as a strategy consultant, as a CA, we want to do lots of research before jumping in. When you bought those bags, when you first got, what was going to become Kwaito Koeksister, was there any research beyond just, I like these bags and I have a feeling other people would like them too? Was there any of that? Was there any, I think I know who my target market is? Or was it just, I trust my gut?
That's a very good question. Yes, I think for me, it's when it comes to these kinds of things, and especially with those bags, I trust my gut, but I'm quite stingy. I don't know if that's the right word, or frugal. So I like looking at something that's got not a lot of capital layout. So for me, I looked at that bag and I saw this bag is 80 Rand. Even if I sell that bag for cost price, I will still get my money back. But this bag I can easily sell for 350 Rand. And oddly enough, a year and a half after I brought those bags back, Mr. Price Home actually stocked those same bags. So, but for me, it was a case of, yes, I trust my gut, zero market research. But again, because it wasn't such a high-priced item, I didn't really have so much to lose.
And you see, I think that makes perfect sense, right? And it just goes to show, it's even without market research, there's there's a real business savvy to what you're saying. You've understood. You're looking at the cost price. You're saying relative to the market, this is a steal. And you went for it. Can I ask? Do you still remember how many bags did you buy that first time around?
I actually sent back, it was about 8 kilograms or 10 kilograms. So it was quite a lot of bags. It was 2 boxes I sent with DHL, I remember. But I can't remember the exact amount of the bags. But to be honest, some of those bags are still in my storeroom. So the bags did well. But I mean, then you can't compete with Mr. Price on that. No, I'm kidding.
No, of course.
There was quite a few bags, but not in so many that I didn't blow my budget there. It was a calculated risk.
No, of course. And so then let's talk about this transition. So you're retrenched from eNCA. They don't give you a severance. So you're basically left with your retirement savings and any savings you have after that, right?
Yes.
A lot of people would be like, I need to go find myself a job. You do the exact opposite. You say, I'm going to take this money and I'm going to invest further into this business with these great bags I bought for 80 Rand where some of the stock is still lying around because, I just have a sense that people are going to love it. So how did you transition then into buying the T-shirts? What was it, through talking to people at the stalls, or what was it?
Yes, so we went to the Embodies festival at Nelspruit with the few t-shirts and the bags. And the kids, I realized that was my market research. The kids, not kids, the teenagers were going crazy about those t-shirts and about the shop. And then I realized, because the bags are quite tanierig. It wasn't actually at all where we are now. So then I realized, kids identify with me, teenagers like me. I think I get their style. And it also helped that I grew up in the 80s, because that trend became fashion again. So I kind of knew what was trendy in the 80s. And then I realized, you know what, let's just go and do it. And I booked another trip with my sister, and that trip was a full-on, now we're going to buy. We're going to buy properly. We're going to find the proper suppliers. Because, I mean, the bags we just bought off the street. It wasn't like a formal place that was just supplying wholesale. And then we went on a mission. And then things really started.
And talk to me about that, because I mean, again, the sheer amount of courage and audacity, and I'll use the word audacity not in a bad sense, but just the audacity to be like, you know, I'm going to go and find suppliers for these shirts. You know, these suppliers could be shipping SKUs of hundreds of thousands of shirts at a time, but I'm going to get them to speak to me, and I want them to provide me shirts at the cheapest price so I can sell back in South Africa. You know, like, I don't have that confidence. If anything, I'm going to be like, why would a supplier talk to me? You know, what's the mentality when you're going to Thailand for that? Is it a case of, well, if they reject me, they reject me? Is it a case of, why would they ever reject me? How are you thinking this through?
No, I mean, I probably didn't think it through, because I mean, everything in Thailand, it's not as if you can go on like Alibaba. It didn't probably even exist that time. So, I mean, I couldn't Google you can't just Google people and make appointments before you go. So we just went blindly. I did some research on some of the main places there, but when we got there, I will remember till the day I die. I remember me and my sister walking out of the hotel room. And remember in Thailand, in Bangkok, it's so hot. It's so hot. You can actually not even focus. It's that hot and humid. And there was a stall, and I went to the guy and I said, where do you buy? What you are selling here now, where do you buy this stock? And they were like umming and ahhing. And I was like, no, please. And I was putting on my charm. And I said, please tell me, where do you buy this? And they just rambled off a name, very unpronounceable name. But then I went on a mission to go and find this place. And I found this amazing wholesale market place. And yeah, I mean, it was difficult, because when you walk in there for the first time, when you start speaking to someone, they're like, no single item. Sorry if I'm just doing the Thai accent. No single item. No single item. And then I'll say, no, wholesale. How many? And it was quite a learning curve. But yeah, they eventually listened to you. But I did have to order a shitload. But I mean, money is money. But yeah, the audacity, I mean, I probably didn't even think of it. I think when you in a spot where I was in, where it's sink or swim, I just needed to make it work.
And you know, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you next. Was, what is the mentality going to Thailand? Was it a case of amazing opportunity, the kids have told me this is the way to go, or was it shit, you know, I need to find a way to recover the money the salary that I've lost?
No, it was never the let's figure out how to recover the salary that I've lost, because up until this day, to be honest, I've not even reached the salary that I did in my corporate job. But the thing for me and what motivates me is kind of that freedom to work on something for yourself. It's, for me, I always compare it to working for a boss and working for yourself is, for me, the same as renting a house and buying a property and paying your own bond off. So for me, it's kind of that. If you work towards your own goal and your own business, if you put just a quarter of the energy you put into working for someone else and making someone else rich in your own thing, I mean, the possibilities are endless. And luckily for me, I mean, I probably did have that confidence because of my marketing background, but it was never a case of I have to. It was more of a passion project, a thing of, you know what, this can work. I have a good feeling, and just because I didn't have an alternative, because I, like you, that feel like you have to think about like overanalyze the businesses you want to start. For me, I feel the same way if thinking about having to apply at a company for another job where the culture is different, where you might not like it, where you might not know how to do it. Where if I'm working for myself, at least I know no one can scream at me. I cannot make an ass of myself. Like, it's just me. I need to.
I
I
mean,
don't
if
know
you
if
have
that
if
makes
you have a
sense.
problem with the boss and you're working for yourself, then there's some real
Yeah, then
issues.
you've got a massive problem.
That's it's so great hearing it, and so inspiring to hear. And so you come. I'm loving the story. So you come back from Thailand. You have your massive order now. And is it at this point where you decide, I'm actually, stalls are one thing, but online sales is where it's at?
No, it was actually not like that. Just one quick just backtrack story. What's also great in Thailand is there's a lot of South Africans. So I was lucky enough because I talked to everyone that I met. Another lady that introduced me to a South African. He used to be the marketing manager of SAA. And he's been in Thailand for 30 years and he does her import and export. And a guy that speaks Afrikaans. So luckily I found that guy because that's also quite tricky, getting your stuff from there to here. But in any case, your question was stores versus online. So for me, the online shop I just did as a side thing. I didn't even do much research about whether it's going to work or whatever. I just wanted an additional platform where people could buy. And I mean, I can't even recall how it happened because it wasn't a conscious decision of online's where it's at. It kind of just happened organically. You have to have a website, put your stock on there, blah, blah, blah. Because the festivals, I mean, we did the Embodies Festival, we did Art Club, we did Kokonko, we did a lot of big festivals. And in the beginning, money-wise, like, I mean, what you would do in a sales-wise, what I would do in a month on the website, I made in 5 days at a festival.
Sure.
So the festival, and actually up until this day, the festivals, people want to feel a t-shirt and they want to see a person. But yeah, it kind of just happened that way. And luckily it did, because then COVID hit. And luckily the website was already established. We got all our ducks in a row. Everything was working smoothly. And it just, by the grace of the universe, that it worked out that way, because a lot of people that used to go to all the festivals didn't have that infrastructure in place when COVID hit, where luckily we did, again kind of by fluke.
It's you love saying fluke and by chance,
I
but
don't
then
know.
when I ask you questions, there's a real savviness
Oh
to your
really?
answers
Oh
and
good.
doggedness. No. I mean, you have an eye for spotting an opportunity, and Santoni, I what's quite clear is a lot of it you've almost, in your words, you've stumbled into, right? And you've put the mechanisms in place that your stumble has actually increased the size of the snowball and just led to more and more success. But when you first started, was there a dream, right, like of what Kwaito Koeksister could be? And if you remember what the dream is, please share and tell me, have you significantly deviated from the dream? Are you on that path to the dream? Has the dream changed?
The dream I still remember, and it's still the dream, is, and this was probably before Takealot was so big. I don't know when Takealot really started. But my idea with Kwaito Koeksister was to create a platform where things are centralized and other people can stock their products on. That is actually kind of still the dream in terms of alternative and arty kind of stuff. That's why
So
I've not.
you wanted to create a full platform.
Yes, that was my plan, because I love helping people. And for me, it doesn't make sense if this girl that paints, I don't know, mugs or whatever, opens her own Facebook and her own Instagram and her own website, resource-wise, it's just going to be so expensive instead of just pooling it together. So that was the plan, and it's kind of still the plan. We just became so busy that, I mean, vetting people, and I mean, but again, I think it was a bit before the big Takealot craze, but it's still my vision. And the other part of the vision is, I really would love to have a section in Mr. Price clothing like a Kwaito Koeksister created like section. So that's the other one. The dream is still on its way, but I think it was important to build the brand and have quality products that we regulate and check before we deviate to that, because that will be a monster on its own. And just the other dream was also to create a platform where kids that I can kind of associate, that was me at school, get clothes that are cool and funky and with it, without having to pay 400-500 rand a t-shirt. And that has definitely been happening. It's really something that that's probably the reason why I love doing what I'm doing, is it creates so much happiness.
Yeah, and ultimately you're in control of that, of how you provide that happiness to yourself and to other people, which is something that most of us who work a 9 to 5 can't say, right? And Santi, can I just say, so the strategy consulting side in me
Yeah,
is coming
sure.
out, right? You've
I need
literally
your
said you
advice.
I'm here to get your advice, but you've mentioned wanting to become a platform. Now, we live in the life and times of the platform economy. So you've stumbled across exactly where you need to be in the world. You're seeing it across South African corporates. People are trying to become platforms. They've realized that the traditional business model of, I guess, linear sales, I'm a consumer, you're a buyer, we transact goods, is outdated. People want to almost be the owner of a transaction, right? Irrespective of who the supplier of the goods are. You just want to understand who your two customers are from a supply and customer perspective. So the fact that that's one of your goals, again, like, your business savviness is immense. I think that's an amazing goal. The second piece being, having this clothing range in a Mr. Price, for example. It seems like you're definitely on your way there, and not necessarily even through Kwaito Koeksister, but the way in which you advertise the business or you market your business, it is so close to your own personal brand that a lot of people who buy Kwaito Koeksister are also buying Santoni, right?
It's
And
weird.
that's, I wouldn't say it's weird. I would say the way you've marketed the business is
Thank
is very
you.
powerful. Um,
Oh,
and that's what I'm saying. You could almost get your brand not even out of Kwaito Koeksister, but because you're Santoni and you're a content creator. I mean, your Instagram following is sitting at what, almost 15,000 now.
yes, isn't it amazing? And Facebook's on 32,000, in case you were wondering.
Jeepers. So it's you're talking a lot of sense for someone who says they don't do market research. You're always on the money. It seems.
Yay! That's a massive compliment. But Joe, just on the brand side, sorry, you were still going to ask a question,
No, no, I,
or
I
am
was
I
just going to
answering
sing your
now?
praises. I was just going to sing your
Yeah,
praises.
you know what? Interesting. I think it's being conscious all the time about what's happening and what's doing well. So, for argument's sake, in the beginning, I used to just put pictures of the stock on my Facebook and my Instagram. And then I think once I put a photo of myself on, and then you could see how the view of the likes spiked. And then I did tests, and then I realized every time I put a picture of me wearing the actual merchandise compared to a photo or even someone else wearing it, there was a massive difference. And then I realized, I mean, afterwards I read this, people buy from people. But at that stage, I just thought, oh, I'm a cheap model. We don't have money to pay. Oh, this dog. He's loving this podcast, by the way. It's not mine, otherwise I could keep it quiet. Anyway, so I realized that, again, I know you say I like the word fluke, but it happened by chance because we didn't have any money to employ models. I had to be the model, and then it ended up me being the face. And it's so funny. I mean, it's interesting. More people recognize me because of Kwaito Koeksister, and then they actually recognize me because of Survivor. And they call me that. Oh, you're quite a cook sister. So it's weird how it kind of intertwined, and it's become like this massive, like, weird entity, which I love.
But the thing that's also great is no one could suit your brand better than you. In terms of
Oh,
when you read the about section of Quite a Cook Sister and why it's been built, and it's for the misfits, the weird and wonderful, right? You have always said that's what you embody, right? And so I can't imagine a better ambassador for the brand. And I think it's so powerful. And one of the things that I've seen in terms of your success is we've had so many chats where you are constantly trying out new things. You're always testing. I mean, you told me to join TikTok, right?
Yes.
You've been telling me about how algorithms work. So you're constantly, you know, doing the research and constantly checking and trying to find ways of improving the business and learning as you go. And that snowballs over time. The other thing that I
Mm.
think has been great is how you've built a sense of community, you know, by making yourself the model. To be called, I can't imagine there is a better compliment than being called the name of your business,
I
right?
know. It's
it, it,
amazing.
you can't get better advertising. It's people people like, oh, who's that? It's Kwaito Koeksister. Who's that? Let me Google, and then they just land up on your store. That is excellent. There's a definite robustness in how you go about your business. It's not just happen chance or happenstance.
Mm.
There's deep thought behind it, and you can see it in the growth of the business.
Yes. But I think it's the having the authenticity, and I mean, but again, maybe subconsciously and probably consciously, that my marketing background does come out a little bit. But Joe, it's really amazing, and I'm really in awe of how it's grown and the stuff that works. Like, I mean, there's, for argument's sake, something that you know well on my stories is the memes that I share.
Hmm.
It was just random stuff that I found funny, and then I started sharing them, and then they blew up. Again, so many people stopping me to tell me, "Oh, I love your memes. Your memes make my day. I wake up every morning to watch your memes." And again, it's got nothing to do really with the business, but it keeps them engaged.
I think that's a great point, right? So looking at it from a business perspective, one of the hardest things that I find, even with a podcast or even just leveraging Survivor, is your distribution, your reach. How do I make myself more attractive to more people? Um, and for people who are unaware, if you ever look at the Kwaito Koeksister Instagram page, you will always find about 20 or 30 Instagram stories that are just memes that will make you laugh. And that has been such a great way of, creating awareness of the brand. And, people, because you update it regularly, even if people initially join you because of the memes, at some point you're going to release something that they're going to want to buy.
Yes, because you sneak it in between the memes there.
Absolutely. But so that's also part and parcel of being a content creator. Lots of content creators, they build up their community, and then eventually they release a product,
Yeah, they
and
start
people want to buy
monetizing.
it. Yeah, and people want to buy it because they feel some sort of kinship with the creator. You've gone the other way around. You
Other way
started off with
around, yeah.
products, then became a content creator, and then over time people can be like, I really enjoy this person. I'm more inclined to buy something from them. So
Yeah,
it is a fascinating way of how small businesses can actually reach larger audiences, and
yeah,
it never actually has to be through your product. It can be through something completely
exactly.
different.
I worked with two amazing mentors, Patrick Conroy and Cecil Lyons, and they are geniuses in the field of marketing. And they, while working for eNCA, we worked a lot on content marketing and creating content instead of just serving up ads. And I mean, I remember we did a promo campaign where I just walked in the street and asked people, "Do you know who the president is, or do you know what this stands for?" So random questions, and the content and the amount, I mean, those things went viral. And then I realized, okay, cool, I get it. You need to give people something that they enjoy watching or that they are interested in, and that's what I try and do. I mean, you can see all the old toys here in the back, but in the beginning, I just opened up all the new toys or showing people off the toys, but always while wearing a Kwaito Koeksister t-shirt or something, because people are tired of people like, it's in your face. You don't want to be sold to. You want to be entertained, and like you said, then organically, when the moment comes and they actually want to buy something, they remember you and the stuff you have. But it's been a process.
And tell me, as you've gone through that process and to where you are today, what does your day look like? And let's talk on two fronts. So from an operational perspective, it's just you and Bondina. So that's
Yes.
Santoni's partner for anyone who
Yeah.
doesn't know. Is it just the two of you running Kwaito Koeksister, correct?
Yes, and we've got another lady that works for us. Her name is Monica. She's here 3 days a week. She helps us with the packing of the orders, but yeah, it's just the three of us.
A-
Um,
And and so I really want to know what your day to day looks like
mm.
running Kwaito Koeksister, and then I also want to know on the other end how often do you sit down and look ahead into the future, and we're going to spend some time talking about what are your hopes and dreams. So I know you want to be in Mr. Price, I know you
Yeah.
want to be a platform, but how are you getting there? But yeah, what does your day generally look like running Kwaito Koeksister?
So basically, we get up, and then we not we Bondina packs. Bondina is the logistics manager. She does all the packing. So she goes through the app because we run our shop, and I will put everything on any link you ever want, the resources and the pages and the software I use. But we use Shopify, and I've got an app. So then Bondina and Monica, they're busy getting all the orders ready, going up in our roof. Because I mean, our infrastructure, we don't have like a big, massive storeroom. So our garage and upstairs and wherever, and two of our rooms are actually storerooms. So then they pack out all the orders, and then so my main, it sounds horrible, but the time in a day up until the point that they're done packing, I'm constantly on social media, replying to comments, saving memes for the evening, those kinds of things. And then by about 9 o'clock, they give me a list, and then I print, because I'm the quick one on the computer. So then I print out all the waybills, and yeah, around about 11 o'clock, the courier comes and collects. And then we do another packing run for a pickup later in the day. So yeah, that's the basics of the day. And always before I go to bed, I put my memes on. And yeah, the rest of the time it's my answering WhatsApps, trying ways to improve the website, thinking of sales or interesting things to do. And then a lot of the time doing research on TikTok or Instagram to see what's working.
That's
It's a
That's
very boring day.
no, it's not. It's a really packed day, is what I was gonna say, and it's great to see, right? Like you have got it down to a T in terms of you are always marketing to everyone, like your audience. You're always finding ways of engaging and growing it. On the logistics side, like as a creative director in your past life, you've had to learn that as you've gone about it. How is my question?
You
Have
mean the
you
logistics?
the logistics and just the running of the business and keeping stock control and all of that, how, how have you taught yourself all of that? Did it come easily? Did you use YouTube? How have you gone about empowering yourself in that regard?
Yeah, that is something that I'm constantly evolving on that front, the more structured part of the business. So the main things that I struggle with, which I've now taught myself, is kind of keeping track of the finances and seeing whether we're on track, and keeping to our targets, because it's quite nice with Shopify, with the app. Every time an order comes in, it goes ching ching ching, and you can check where you are at, and then I'll see, okay, cool, now I need to do something, sales are low today. Logistics wise, to be honest, Bondina is the expert on that. I am very bad with that. I'm good in saying, okay, cool. The thing is, the resources are at your fingertips. With Shopify, you literally have everything there. There's apps you can install to tell you when stocks are low. It's the resources there is just absolutely amazing. So you don't actually have to do or learn so much. But
And how did
I'm
you
scaring me. Maybe I should learn more.
no, but how, so then for someone who is going into this, right? So someone like me
Hmm.
who is really
Yes.
just bad at starting anything. How do I know, Mister, all the ideas but scared to take the next step? How do I know that Shopify is the place I should be? How did you come about that?
Yeah, I did some research because I did start a tourism company also, but then obviously with lockdown, it's still in the pipeline. But in any case, I did my research then, where I compared Wix and what's the other one? Wix and whatever the other one is. So I did some research there, and then I just googled. And I mean, I think Shopify was the only one available at that stage. So that was the only e-commerce based like app. I don't even know what the right wording is for it. Yeah, and I just started, and then I realized I need to have a payment portal. I mean, how are people going to pay? Then I had to do a lot of research and contact Shopify to see who can I get in South Africa, because I mean, no one here has PayPal really. I think it's a mission to get PayPal. So I had to go through that process. You have to apply and send all your documents and whatever. And then again, when it comes to integrating the shipping, the labels, what courier to use. Yeah, it was just asking, not be afraid. Hi, can you help me? Blah, blah, blah. So it was Googling and just figuring out who was the right people. And that's why I'm always open in helping anyone that wants to start any form of an online business, because I've learned my lessons. I've got my apps that work. I've got the people that do it the best. And I was lucky enough that I found them quickly in my journey, that I didn't have to pay a lot of school fees by, by faffing around, trying to do everything yourself. I don't know if,
and I think that's the question then is, now that you're at this point of maturity in that side of the business, what when you reflect back from the days of having a stall, what have been some of the biggest challenges that you've overcome, and conversely, what are some of the things that you've enjoyed the most?
Okay, so the biggest challenges, was in the beginning going to a festival, making sure you take the right stock, because you can't take your whole shop.
Mm.
Challenges like COVID. I mean, in the beginning period where we couldn't ship anything, there was a ban on courier services. That was a hectic challenge. And then also more recently, because of COVID and because of Survivor, I had to do 2 massive bulk purchases. I think I imported about 2 tons of stock,
Sure.
because I couldn't, in the Survivor time, I couldn't go there so regularly. So it made me put a lot of my capital is kind of stuck in stock, because I just kind of maybe overcompensated a little bit, because I could only do it remotely, where I would prefer, I used to go by myself, or like 6 times a year I would go. So with Survivor, I brought a lot of stock, which is a bit of a obstacle at the moment, because I mean, I don't like having so much stock, and then it just, I don't know, now the English is going a bit, but you know what I'm saying is, to make sure that you don't put too much of your capital stuck in stock. But I mean, that is now, sorry, am
No,
saying the right things?
you're saying all the right things. You don't want your money tied up in inventory, and again, you're in fashion, so inventory obsolescence, inventory like going stale is always a concern.
Yes, and because of the lack of festivals, which will change hopefully now, we'll be able to start getting the cash flow back, if that makes sense. But that was the biggest hurdle coming through all of this, and then stuff that you come figure out afterwards, like, shit, should I have spent so much money on Facebook marketing? Maybe I must cut that budget a little bit and be more creative and get organic, like reach, and those kinds of normal struggles. And my other struggles, I'm a bit bored when a business starts kind of running itself in the way that it is. I'm now ready for adding more elements to what we're doing, because it's now a bit of the same for a bit now.
That's that's the mark of success. If it's getting a bit routine and boring, that means you're doing something very,
Oh,
very right.
really?
Surely, I
Ooh,
don't know.
coming from a strategist.
I'm not the business owner. I'm learning from you.
No.
And so, just a question now. This is me just very interested. Beyond the inventory, what are the other biggest costs that you end up having to fork out for?
Like I said, I'm quite frugal, so we don't have a shop front, which I think saves us a lot of money. We don't have a physical shop. We do everything ourselves, so I luckily don't have to pay for any design fees or any marketing agency and those kinds of fees. So majority of our expenses actually goes towards Google ads. We spend quite a lot of money on Google ads and a bit of social media, because the algorithms change so often. You do have to put some money in there to keep on popping up on people's timelines. And then, weirdly enough, there's this weird thing about shipping and courier fees. Because courier fees are going up, but people, sometimes you have to have a very nice balance between your standard shipping rate and your free shipping rate. That is something we do spend a lot of money on, kind of subsidizing the courier fees a little bit, because I want the products in people's hands. So I don't want to have an obstacle there where someone wants the t-shirt and they think 100 rand for delivery or whatever. So sometimes, and also I try to, my delivery is a standard rate. With some websites you'll see it's dependent on what area you're in. If you're in a rural area, it's like 130 or whatever. It's got a scaled shipping of delivery rate. So I want to, what I promise people is 85 rand, and that's what you're going to get. And if you order more than 600 rand, which is quite not a massive amount, then you get it for free. So that is something we kind of still subsidize a bit, because, as I said, I want people to have the products in hand, and then hopefully in future you don't have to, you know what I'm saying.
I do, and I mean it's completely in keeping with almost the identity of Kwaito Koeksister, where you've built the sense of community. You've said that part of your happiness is also ensuring that people who want your I guess your wear can actually buy it, they can get it, and so it's putting the customer first, and if you're subsidizing them, you're going to subsidize them. And I'm sure what that means is you should see quite a bit of customer loyalty, and it's a good lesson to learn for anyone trying to start a business. Is ultimately your customers are always number one, and if they feel that you're doing them a service, they're going to be just that much more loyal. I know I would be.
Right? Yeah, I'm the same. I'm a very loyal person, and I think I kind of use myself as like, what would I do, and how will someone get my loyalty? And it's that, for argument's sake, in the clothing retail space, I mean, people are, or I would be skeptical to buy something online and it will arrive and it might not fit. Then it's going to cost me money to send it back, and that's why we've also implemented free delivery, a free exchange, free returns, those kind of things. But that kind of all adds up a little bit in extra overheads. But that's a little mathematical thing. I'll ask you to help me work out how I should.
And I think that's amazing, Santoni. It's, even though you're still building out your store, and it's literally you and Bondina running this. You are providing your customers with a premium service. That it has all the bells and whistles that you get when you buy from Takealot, when you buy from Superbalist. That's something to be proud of. You're not cutting corners, and so I think this is a great segue into advice. Someone like me, or anyone who's trying to start something themselves, whether it's an online store, whether it's a podcast, what would your biggest pieces of advice be? I mean, I can already see there's a strong leaning to put yourself in your customer's shoes, give them the best that you possibly can. But I don't want to take the words out of your mouth. You tell me, what are some of your biggest advice for someone who wants to get off their couch and actually start doing something?
I think you shouldn't wait for everything to be perfect. Like, I mean, I do think you can get so boggled down by doing too much research sometimes. I'm the kind of person that actually probably I don't do enough research, but I've realized that if you read, there's so many opinions, there's so many people that give you so many different forms of advice, that if you're going to be reading and trying to get that knowledge base perfect before you start, you're never going to start. So I think personally, I mean, that's why I built the website in 2 days. And if I look at the website now, I'm like, oh, as a graphic designer, I'm not sure if this is really the most beautiful website, but I did it and I just went for it. So I think going for it, not let and I mean, we have spoken about this, not let the fear of not being perfect stop you from starting. I really think it's important to start, because you can sort out the kinks on your way. And that's what we had to do in the beginning. We had to like send people free stuff because stuff they waited. That's something you can manage, but not starting is worse. So I think starting, and then personally, and I mean, people might disagree, but I personally think if you start something where you know there's not a massive capital layout that you're going to have to put down, something where you can use the skills that you have, or maybe spend a little bit of money, but not go overboard in such a way that you are now again a prisoner of the money, the layout that you've created there, that you are going to feel trapped and not enjoy it. I don't know. But that for me, I think you must start small in terms of the money aspect of it, but not small in how you're going to see yourself. That's one thing that I realize people do. They're like, oh, I want to just start small and just like send, like for argument's sake, I want to now, I don't know, do whatever. I'll just send it to my family and friends. And you must believe that it's massive. Because if you're going to sell it as something big, people will believe that it's something big and it will manifest into something big. Sorry, the English, I don't know if the English formulated that sentence right.
The English formulated perfectly. And it's by having that belief, that's what allows you to go to Thailand and haggle with all the suppliers and ask for the supplier's supplier. Because, you know where you ultimately want to go. And I think that's great advice. And Santoni, one last question from me, or two questions. Well, actually, it's a bit of both. Looking back from your time at eNCA, would you ever want to go back? And two, are you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how proud of yourself are you for creating this whole company from scratch?
I think everything in your life happens for a reason and molds you to where you are supposed to be at. So I really learned so much while working at eNCA. And I mean, I always told everyone I wasn't working for a living. This was like, I mean, I'm being paid to do what I love. So I really loved it, but it was time. I don't ever want to go back, because once you have kind of tasted freedom out of the prison of corporate.
Can I just say, I'm so glad that you said that, because if you said you wanted to go back, this entire podcast would fall down.
But exactly, no, I don't ever want to go back, because the fact that you can build your own dream and work on your own goal. Again, like I said, I'm not nearly earning what I did there, but it's we spoke about it earlier this week. The definition of success is so relative. And I'm
Absolutely.
just, loving this freedom and also doing good in the world. So, and I mean, I think I'm a perfectionist. So I don't see Kwaito Koeksister like I think maybe some people do. Like Bondina, I spoke to her this afternoon. I'm like, do you realize actually how big we actually are becoming? It's like flipping cool, but I don't see it because I'm not an ego kind of driven person. So for me, the emails I get from happy kids or happy moms, that makes... Because, I mean, these kinds of things, you can be on top one day and at the bottom tomorrow. So I don't put too much value on boasting and patting myself on the back. I think it's a work in progress. But, I'm proud that the fact that we've been able to survive is the one thing that I'm very proud of, is that Bondina and I, both kind of survive every month by hook or by crook. And again, we're playing the long game, because I believe in this, and it's just going to become bigger.
I think that's so great, Santoni. Thank you so much for your time. It's been incredible hearing your journey. I think, inspiration for everyone. It just goes to show that where there's a will, there's a way, and a lot of the time it's a lot of elbow grease and effort to get it done. But if you have belief, if you have a vision, if the kids at the festival stall told you that these t-shirts are the way to go, there's a business to be made. And I'll always say, it's such an inspiration seeing what you've done, because for someone like me, who, exactly to your point, will overthink everything and will want everything to be perfect before even starting, it's great to see just how much can be done just by putting your first foot forward and then taking a step each day at a time. And also, whilst I'm here, just a quick shout out to you for helping me get this podcast started. So
thank you, amazing. That was so much fun.
No, thank you so much. And yeah, I don't know what else to say other than we look forward to seeing you in Mr. Price and the Kwaito Koeksister platform in a couple of years.
And all the best for this amazing initiative. I can't wait to listen to all of the interviews you're going to have. And like I told you, the only thing I ever want from you is not to forget me when you're famous. Like proper Trevor Noah, New York famous.
Please, you don't forget me when you're selling your business to Takealot.
Ooh, imagine.
And Santoni, please, before I forget, please tell everyone where they can find you and where they can buy merch from you.
Yes, so people can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Kwaito Koeksister, and then obviously our website www.kwaitokoeksister.com or .co.za. Good advice. Register a lot of domains when you're when you open your own shop. Yes, and go and follow me. And yeah, whatever. Let's see what happens.
Amazing, Santoni. Thank you so much for your time.
Bye.
Bye.
Listen.